to former National Security Advisor to former Vice President Dick Cheney, John Hanna, who says we're in a better place going into these negotiations than most people could have hoped for. John, I have to agree 1,000%. The media went apoplectic because of President Trump's heavy-handedness in this, and yet we're dealing with the dictator who may only understand that kind of an approach.
Yeah, Charles, I've got a bit of whiplash here. Like you said, 6 months ago, the media and all the pundits were hysterical about the president's insults of Kim Jong-un and fearing that he was about to get us into World War III. Today, the criticism is actually, well, the president's naive and he's about to give away the store to Kim. The honest truth is that after having been dealt a terrible hand by his predecessor, a North Korea that already had as many as 60 nuclear weapons, we are now on the cusp of a negotiation in which Kim has said he's ready to talk about the U.S. objective of denuclearization. He said that as part of any deal, he's not insisting that the U.S. troops get out of South Korea. And as you said, last week, he froze his nuclear and missile tests. We shouldn't get ahead of ourselves here. Stipulate up front. The North can't be trusted. It's broken every agreement it's ever negotiated, and the U.S. can't give any concessions for empty gestures that are easily reversible. But at the same time, let's give the president some real credit for getting us to this place of cautious optimism. And let's be honest, the experts that have had 25 years to try and solve this problem have failed miserably, and I should know because I was one of them.
Well, then what exactly, when you had your chance, when Vice President Cheney and, of course, George Bush had their chance, was it sort of just going with the same playbook? You don't want to rattle these folks too much, you know, make some, in other words, that old playbook that both parties used, it's not applicable, is it, anymore when we deal perhaps with the North Koreas or the Irans in the world?
I at least think you've got to acknowledge that what we've done before hasn't worked, and therefore you've got to be a little bit humble about what the president has done. And what he's done is really quite extraordinary. He's put together an incredibly tough sanctions regime of maximum pressure. He's gotten China to do more than it's ever done to cooperate with those sanctions. And for the first time in a long time, he was prepared to confront Kim Jong-un with a credible threat of military force. And I just think it's undeniable that when you put all of that together, we are now on the cusp of a negotiation where rather than testing nukes and ICBMs every other week, Kim Jong-un is now going out of his way to at least try and create a positive atmosphere for these talks.
Let me ask you, John, because I believe that the media's hatred for President Trump is hurting America. It's okay to criticize the president, but I think they go so far as to dismiss everything that he does either as a failure. I mean, we can have a great jobs report, and the media reports it as, hey, inflation is on the way. We can have a poor jobs report, and we'll say, oh, man, the economy is falling apart. In this particular instance, does it help, or how much does it hurt when the media is saying, hey, Kim Jong-un is brilliant, China is brilliant? In other words, I don't see how they're helping us. On one hand, we should let China steal $600 billion in intellectual property from us because we're hurting pig farmers that the media never even knew existed a couple years ago.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely, Charles, that we've really, now more than ever, given the range of national security threats we face, we do need to return to a degree of honest bipartisanship on these really difficult national security issues. And let me just mention here that what the Senate Foreign Relations Committee looks like it's about to do to Mike Pompeo, a man by every measure of knowledge, experience, personal integrity, relationship to the President of the United States, is eminently qualified to be our next Secretary of State. He is not going to get a positive recommendation out of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee precisely because rather than the historical standard of being qualified for the job, they've resorted to tribalism, to polarization, and to simply a dislike of the president and the desire to embarrass his choice.
And yet Pompeo just went on this clandestine mess into North Korea to do the groundwork for this meeting, and apparently it was an extraordinarily successful meeting, proving once again that he certainly has the qualifications to do this. And of course, he just made it a CIA director. To your point, John, I tell you, it's more than disheartening. I think it's starting to hurt our country in many, many ways, and I think everyone needs to be reflective on this and honest about how much you want your animosity toward President Trump to hurt the entire nation. Report on demand fairly. He does his tweets. He does a lot of other things. But I think when nothing is good, that's not good for the nation. John, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your expertise.
Thank you, Charles.